Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. The 7th meeting of the 64th session of the Commission for Social Development is called to order. I invite the Commission to resume a general discussion under agenda item 3A and B. Inscription in the list of speakers for the general discussion is now closed. Before giving the floor to the first speaker, I would like to remind delegations to respect the agreed time limits of 5 minutes for member states speaking in their national capacity, 3 minutes for intergovernmental organizations and United Nations system entities, and 3 minutes for non-governmental organizations in consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. A digital speech timer is visible on the screen to assist the speakers in managing their time. I recommend that delegations refer intermittently to the updated live list of speakers so that they are ready to speak when given the floor. I thank you for the understanding and cooperation. I would now give the floor to the first speaker, the representative of Mauritania.
May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. Madam Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Second World Summit for Social Development held in sisterly Qatar was a great opportunity to find mechanisms to achieve sustainable development and the 2030 Agenda, and to promote social development. Allow us to congratulate the State of Qatar for holding the conference. Madam Chair, in this vein, for the second year, we are working on implementing the national strategy to promote human rights. The strategy 2024-2028. This is a comprehensive vision that is based on promoting social justice and the concept of citizenship while promoting economic and social rights and building a good environment free of marginalization. In terms of social justice and reducing inequality, we have established a national solidarity unit to fight marginalization in order to ensure justice and protection and eradicate all forms of inequality while promoting social cohesion and supporting the most vulnerable. This can happen through the programs that we are implementing. More than 137,000 households have benefited from cash support, as well as health insurance to more than 100,000 citizens of low income. We have built more than 2,500 housing units. The Mauritanian strategic policies attach great importance to the inclusion of people with disability in the society and reducing the effect of disability on them in order to ensure they are included in the society. In this vein, and during the previous 5 years, the number of children with disabilities benefiting from education has tripled. Madam Chair, the National Strategy for the Promotion of Peace and Social Cohesion 2025-2030, which was adopted by my country on the 31st of December 2025, is a complete strategy that seeks to transform the most vulnerable areas to developed areas while promoting the economy of peace, which includes the private sector, the youth, and women in building a sustainable future. This strategy seeks to ensure social inclusion and justice, empower youth and women economically to achieve peace, economic empowerment of youth also. In conclusion, Madam Chair, we would like to note that a quarter of the population of Mauritania live under the poverty line. We are facing a number of challenges, including desertification and climate change, as well as displacement and migrants because of political crises in the region. Mauritania is currently hosting more than 300,000 refugees on its territories. However, we remain committed to the Sustainable Development Goals. We renew our call for the promotion of international support for the least developed and most vulnerable countries to ensure multilateral cooperation. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Mauritania, and I now give the floor to the representative of United Republic of Tanzania.
Hello. Thank you, Chair. Madam Chairperson, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, on behalf of the United Republic of Tanzania, I have the honor to address this August 4th session of the Commission on Social Development. And at the outset, Tanzania aligns itself with the statement delivered on behalf of the Group of 67 and China and the African Group. Madam Chairperson, Tanzania welcomes the theme of this session, advancing social development and the social justice through equitable and inclusive social policies, inclusive policies. And Madam Chairperson, under the leadership of Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Tanzania has placed the social development and social justice at the center of the economic development priorities. And this is anchored within the Constitution of the United Republic of Tanzania and is articulated in the National Development Vision 2050, alongside with the alignment of the implementation of 2063 Agenda and the 2030 SDGs. Madam Chairperson, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania commits itself to ensuring that all these are implemented through different legislative legislative laws, policies, and action programs. And we are committed to ensure that there is achievement that has to be made in relation to the economic empowerment of all social groups, including women, youth, persons with disabilities, through different economic schemes. But also we are implementing and expanding Tanzania's social action funds for poor families, whereby in the year 2024-2025, 1.26 million have been reached with the cash transfer. But also, apart from that, the United Government of Tanzania have witnessed increasingly participation of women in decision making, but also participating in economic activities, including also elderly, youth, and persons with disability. And in relation to the education sector, Tanzania has made achievements by ensuring increasing the enrollment of children at the primary level. And this is evidenced by the provision of free and compulsory basic education, but also increasement in the investment in the technical and vocational education sector, and increase the budget for provision of loans at tertiary level, and also increasement in the investment in the infrastructure at all educational structures. In the ESEC sector, Tanzania has made tremendous achievements by improving the infrastructure, whereby in the past 5 years we have constructed more than 4,000 AC facilities at different levels, but also we have increased the access in terms of coming up with the registration on universal health insurance, which we have started its implementation by allocating enough resources to ensure that vulnerable groups benefits, including elderly, children under 5, and those people suffering from clinical diseases. More so, in the health sector, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania have recruited more health practitioners. Almost we have gone 3 times of the number of health practitioners who were there in 2020. And under the 100 days of being re-elected into power, the Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan has employed 5,000 health practitioners to improve the health sector. But also in the economic sector, we have put in place mechanisms that could improve the agriculture industry, mining, to ensure that people who are involved in those sectors, including youth, women, benefit from those sectors through special economic zones, agro-industrial parks, and regional processing clusters, which ensure and provide opportunities for job creation and improving economy for our people. Madam Chairperson, Tanzania continue to reaffirm its position in terms of ensuring that social development and social justice are implemented according to the theme of this session, and we are here emphasizing on the need to enhance international cooperation in addressing different challenges that face youth, like the issue of youth unemployment, physical constraints, but also the issue related to climate changes. Madam Chairperson, I beg to submit. Thank you so much.
I thank the representative of Tanzania, and I now give the floor to the representative of Jordan.
شكرا سيدتي.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we meet today at a global moment marked by growing tests to the ability of social systems to protect people amid widening economic and social challenges and increasing pressures on the most vulnerable. Pressures that directly affect stability, both nationally and internationally. Social justice is no longer a sectoral or narrowly social concern. It has rather become a cornerstone of stability and a key indicator of effective public policies and their capacity to respond to rapid transformations. We believe that the discussion on social development can no longer be confined to desired outcomes alone. It must also include how public policies are designed, how they are coordinated and integrated, and how they can ensure that human dignity is a tangible outcome and not just a mere slogan. In our experience, we have demonstrated that the effect of the absence of social justice is not only national, it also affects stability and development. We have approached social development as a strategic choice intrinsically linked to strengthening social cohesion, stability, and fulfilling shared responsibility internationally and regionally. We have aligned our national policies with international priorities. We have played an active role in the formulation of practical regional frameworks to translate global commitments to implementable tools. I would like to highlight the Amman Declaration launched during the High-Level Arab Conference hosted by Jordan in December 25. This is not just an outcome document of a regional meeting. It is a political and operational initiative that reflects a shift in the approach to development and social justice. The Amman Declaration addresses a genuine need to bridge the gap between political commitments and social realities by translating international obligations into actionable policies and tools that take into account national specificities and reaffirm shared responsibility in combating poverty and advancing social justice. The launch of the Amman Declaration from Jordan underscores our role as a trusted platform for dialogue and a consensus-building bridge between international visions and regional needs. It also reflects our capability to contribute to shaping practical frameworks that promote social and economic policies and support establishment of comprehensive social protection systems. This is a regional reference that supports the Doha Political Declaration and a roadmap that places coordinated action at the heart of achieving social justice. It lays the foundation for deeper partnerships. The message Jordan brings to this forum aligns with the thematic focus of this session, that advancing social development and social justice cannot be achieved through fragmented policies or short-term interventions, but rather through coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies that integrate the social and economic dimensions, link protection with empowerment, move from managing needs to expanding opportunities, and shift from crisis response to building resilient care and support systems. At the national level, we began developing our social system in line with this approach through policies that focus on justice and rely on impact measurement, as well as efficiency of social care and support systems as flexible mechanisms capable of responding to challenges that support the most vulnerable and promote self-reliance, thereby contributing to poverty eradication and the preservation of human dignity. The Jordanian experience confirms that national impact, regardless of its scope, remains limited in the absence of genuine international cooperation. The world is called upon to move from a logic of assistance to one of partnership, from ad hoc responses to resilience building, particularly in support of middle-income countries. We call for reaffirming the centrality of social protection as an investment in stability and development, and for the development of flexible financing mechanisms that allow countries to fulfill their social commitments without undermining internal cohesion, while strengthening their capacity to sustain development pathways. The real challenge we face today does not lie in a lack of knowledge or the absence of vision. It is in the implementation gap between what is agreed internationally and what is actually reflected in the lives of families, children, older persons, and persons with disabilities. Bridging this gap requires sustained political will, effective governance, and cross-sectoral and cross-border coordination. Under the leadership of His Majesty the King, we will continue to play our role as a trusted partner, a responsible voice, and an effective bridge between international commitments and national realities. Thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Jordan, and I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The theme of this session speaks to a defining challenge of our time. That is, how to translate social development and justice from aspiration into lived reality. The SDGs report rightly reminds us that poverty, inequality, and exclusion persist not because of a lack of commitment, but because policies remain fragmented, uncoordinated, and uneven in their reach. Social justice cannot be delivered in silos. It demands coherence of vision, inclusion by design, and coordination of action. For Pakistan, social development is both a policy priority and a moral responsibility. Our approach is inspired by the core Islamic principles of justice, compassion, and shared responsibility, which place human dignity and care for the vulnerable at the center of social life. These values continue to guide our national efforts. Accordingly, we have pursued social development through integrated and people-centered programs. The Benazir Income Support Program, for example, one of the largest social protection programs in the developing world, provides targeted cash support to millions of low-income women anchored in transparency and digital delivery. We have also expanded social safety nets, education stipends, nutrition support, health coverage, interest-free loans and skills initiatives with a strong focus on women, children, persons with disabilities, and marginalized communities. And these programs are increasingly linked with livelihoods, financial inclusion, and human capital development, reflecting our belief that social protection must not only protect, but also empower. Madam Chair, we recognize the structural constraints highlighted in the SG's report. Limited fiscal space, climate-induced shocks, demographic pressures, and global economic volatility place disproportionate burdens on developing countries. Social development and justice, therefore, must be pursued with realism and commitment and sustained international cooperation. We would like to suggest the following in this regard. First, in line with the Doha political declaration, member states should translate commitments into integrated national action by embedding people-centric and inclusive approaches across all stages of policy making. Second, social protection systems should be adaptive and shock responsive, capable of expanding during crises, including climate-related disasters, especially to prevent the vulnerable populations from falling further behind. And third, governments should prioritize effective coordination mechanisms at the highest level, ensuring that social objectives are shared across finance, planning, labor, and social sectors to eradicate poverty and promote social inclusion. Finally, the international community must match national efforts with global responsibility. This includes expanding concessional financing, addressing debt distress, supporting capacity building, and allowing policy space for developing countries to invest in social development without compromising macroeconomic stability. Madam Chair, social development is not a peripheral agenda. It is the quiet architecture of peace, stability, and social cohesion. And social justice is not just defined by intentions or by growth that we record, but by the dignity that we protect and the lives we lift. Pakistan stands ready to work with the international community to translate our shared commitments into shared progress and our collective promises into lived dignity for all. I thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Pakistan, and I now give the floor to the representative of Ethiopia.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. At the outset, my delegation congratulates you and your bureau members upon your successful election. We would like to assure you our full support, and we are confident on your leadership in steering the work of this important commission. We align ourselves with the statements delivered by Uruguay and Liberia on behalf of the Group of 77 and the China and Africa Group, respectively. The priority theme of this year is imperative as it dwells on ensuring social justice as a crucial aspect of social development. It is critical as well to advance equity and inclusion, thereby translating the commitments made in Copenhagen and reaffirmed in Doha. In the same token, we thank the Secretary General for his insightful report on the priority theme in advancing social justice and take note of the recommendations therein. We are of the view that social policies based upon the principles of equity and inclusion are essential to building resilience that withstand shocks and advance global social progress. Moreover, coordination among social fields like planning, labor, finance, economy, and the digital sectors at international, regional, and national level is a means to achieve global social development in line with our commitments in Copenhagen and reaffirmed in Doha. Madam Chairperson, Ethiopia remains committed to social development as it is cornerstone for our overall development efforts. And the ambit of our homegrown economic reform agenda, promotion of social justice and the protection of communities from social vulnerabilities and economic shocks are at the center of our national social protection policy. This is translated into action in our continued investments on poverty reduction, job creation, education, and women's empowerment. With the leadership of our Prime Minister, His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Ethiopia has launched key national initiatives which include, inter alia, first, the Green Legacy Initiative, under which Ethiopia planted over 48 billion seedlings in the last 7 years, which is contributing significantly in job creation, biodiversity protection, and mitigate the adverse effect of climate change. Second, our national wheat program is a breakthrough initiative that started to yield outcome in our goal to ensure food sovereignty, promoting Ethiopia to top wheat producer in Africa since 2024. Third, Digital Ethiopia 2030 is an initiative that affirms Ethiopia's determination to chart its own digital path. It is aimed at harnessing practical tools of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and the quantum computing. In furtherance of this, Ethiopia has just completed a roadmap to establish an exclusive AI university. Fourth, our urban development initiative offers a range of economic and social benefits ranging from job creation to boosting local economy, building smart cities, urban renewal, and development. Under this initiative, the government has just launched the construction of 1.5 million houses with focus head on urban poverty reduction and upholding social justice. Madam Chairperson, despite ongoing efforts, social development continues to grapple with formidable impediments, including climate change, economic volatility, and the rising debt, which constrain fiscal space, particularly in developing countries. As rightly mentioned in the Secretary General's report, institutional silos, rigid mandates, and limited initiatives continue to hinder collaboration, which in turn affects developing countries with lower capacity of adaptation and resilience. In this context, my delegation urges the need for social development guided by the principle of equity that keeps right to development at its center. The Doha Political Declaration rightly emphasizes the need for international cooperation, policy coherence, and solidarity as key enablers of social development, particularly for developing countries facing structural constraints and multiple vulnerabilities. In conclusion, as we call for strengthened global partnership, Ethiopia stands firm in full implementation of the commitments undertaken in Copenhagen and reaffirmed in Doha to promote social development and uphold social justice. I thank you, Madam Chairperson.
I thank the representative of Ethiopia, and I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Mozambique.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Mozambique aligns itself with the statements by Uruguay on behalf of the group of 77 plus China, as well as Liberia on behalf of the African group. Madam Chair, despite technological and socioeconomic progress, millions worldwide still face poverty and exclusion. The gap between achievement and aspiration in social development remains unacceptably wide, with millions on the brink of poverty and social exclusion. Mozambique welcomes the Doha Declaration, reaffirming the 1995 Copenhagen Summit commitments. We also renew our determination to act on poverty eradication, full employment, decent work, and social inclusion. We need to prioritize building societies that are just, inclusive, and resilient to ensure that everyone has dignity and equal opportunities and no one is left behind amid current challenges. Madam Chair, since the Copenhagen Summit in 1995, and despite several structural challenges, Mozambique has made strides in its socio-economic development path. Sadly, many Mozambicans still live on the brink of extreme poverty. To address this situation, we have embedded comprehensive measures across our planning frameworks, from our long-term national development strategy to our medium-term 5-year program. The ultimate goal is creating the necessary conditions to improve the life of the population, including, among others, the maintenance of peace, stability, equity, justice, while diversifying our economy, prioritizing sectors with high potential to generate more jobs and income. We do so without neglecting critical social sectors such as education, health, social protection, water supply, and sanitation. In conclusion, Madam Chair, Mozambique stands ready to continue working together alongside partners and stakeholders to turn our global commitments into concrete actions and accelerate impact on social development and justice. I thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Mozambique, and I now give the floor to the representative of Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam Chair, we welcome the conduct of this meeting, whose theme quite rightly reflects the urgent need to act collectively in order to reduce poverty, to promote decent labor, to enhance social justice, and to protect those who are most vulnerable. We align ourselves with the statement delivered by Liberia on behalf of the African Group and the G77 plus China, delivered by Uruguay. And we wish in our national capacity to deliver the following remarks. Madam Chair, this session is being held in a context punctuated by multifaceted crises which undermine hard-won gains in terms of socio-development. 31 years after the Copenhagen Declaration, promises have still not been honored, and an environment conducive to social development that was promised thereunder has still not materialized. With only 18% of the SDGs on track towards achievement, progress made in social inclusion is far too slow, far too uneven. We note with regret the persistence of extreme poverty, unemployment, social marginalization in certain parts of the world. We are alarmed to observe throughout the world a cost of living crisis, increased inequality and poverty, as well as greater food insecurity. Madam Chair, this is a bitter acknowledgement which requires that we act. We must redouble our efforts and urgently act by taking concrete action to change course and to guide the world towards greater justice, social justice, greater trust, inclusion, security, and resilience. In this regard, we welcome the determination of member states to promote social development and social justice through the Doha Political Declaration and of the 2025 World Summit for Social Development, where we participated in order to tackle the root causes of social exclusion and to improve the human condition. My country has crafted and implemented a host of strategies and policies for social development. We have specific programs for solidarity in Côte d'Ivoire, which is based on 4 key pillars. Number 1, increasing the living standard of those who are poorest with establishment of social nets and increasing the minimum wage. 2, investment in human capital, improvement of access to basic social services, specifically through the effective implementation of universal health care coverage. 3, supporting those who are most vulnerable and preventing and addressing risks of abuse, violence, exploitation, discrimination, and exclusion. And 4, progressive achievement of a greater level of social protection. Our government has been engaged in unstinting efforts to eliminate poverty, to address urgent humanitarian needs, and to establish a support fund for the informal sector. We are determined to continue to pursue these efforts for social development to benefit all of our people. To that end, we have established a program, Vision Côte d'Ivoire 2030, to transform our economy and to accelerate social progress. This is an ambitious program for development, and it has its main goals being reduction of the rate of poverty from 37.5% to 20%, and doubling in that same period per capita income from $1,721 to $3,440. We reaffirm our support and our commitment to the Copenhagen Declaration and on social development and the program of action, and we intend to build alongside the international community a society rooted in justice, solidarity, inclusion. As we pool our efforts, coordinate policies, we can build fairer, more resilient, and more prosperous prosperities for the benefit of present and future generations. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Côte d'Ivoire, and I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Myanmar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, at the outset, I would like to congratulate you and the members of the Bureau on your elections. Please be assured of my delegation's full support throughout this session. Myanmar aligns itself with the statement delivered by G77 China and wishes to highlight the following in our national capacities. Madam Chair, the world is counting down the remaining 1,791 days until we meet our deadline for the SDGs. Yet, we continue to face multifaceted crises increasing in their scale and scope. People across all walks of life, especially the most vulnerable ones, had been enduring these unprecedented challenges as a consequence. Among these challenges, the reversals of global social development is predominant. Women and children, older persons, people with disability, refugees, migrants, and those living in conflict situations, to mention a few, are bearing the burdens of our shortcomings. My country, Myanmar, is a stark example. The previous elected government prioritized measures to eradicate poverty through economic liberalization, inviting foreign investment, improving rural infrastructure, creating employment opportunities, and building individual capacity. These efforts bore fruit. Regrettably, the elected government was overthrown by the illegal military coup in February 2021. This year, we are already marking the 5th year of this unlawful coup. As our people resisted the coup, the military hunters waged a war of terror against the population, and they are committing war crimes and crimes against humanity across the country. Over 7,700 people were killed by the military hunters since the coup. 2,600 women, 1,300 children, and 2,700 youths are among them. Today, over 3.6 million people are being displaced, and almost 22 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. Among them, nearly 10.4 million are women, girls, and LGBTQ+ individuals. There is no equality but discrimination, no inclusion but exclusion, no protection but prosecution, no decent work but unemployment, no education but indoctrination, no access to fundamental health care but a breakdown of healthcare assistance. And most of all, it has set the stage for extreme poverty where half the population is living under the national poverty line. All fundamental sectors and pillars of a country have been weaponized in Myanmar under the military dictators, a group of perpetrators who are now organizing a sham election to deflect international pressure regarding their brutalities. It is crystal clear that the sham election and its manufactured results by the military junta will only prolong the crisis and violence in Myanmar. Simply put, atrocities are everyday reality for the people of Myanmar. Why social development and social justice seem like a luxury? However, our people continue to cling to hope. The National Unity Government, together with EROs and CSO, has been carrying out measures to mitigate the people's suffering through internal coordination, engagement with diverse stakeholders, and external support. Founded on the principles of leaving no one behind, justice and inclusivity, human rights and protection, humanitarian assistance and health and social services, education and youth laid down in our federal principles are placed at the heart of our work. Therefore, in line with the Doha's program of actions called to invest in people, we have been providing humanitarian assistance to those in need and implementing programs for capacity building of the existing human resources. Nevertheless, limitations and challenges are on the rise. In this regard, support from the UN system remains crucial. The UN must not continue failing the people of Myanmar. Although time is long overdue, we request once again that UN act decisively in addressing the issue of Myanmar. Finally, Madam Chair, social development cannot thrive in a vacuum of legitimacy. We cannot talk about resilience economy or social contracts while the very perpetrators of destruction are allowed to act with impunity. The military junta and its affiliates must be held accountable for atrocities they committed throughout the country. Only by doing so can we step up to building a federal democratic union in Myanmar that is committed to serving the interests of our people and the world. Importantly, UN needs to make principalization, and translate words into action. I thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the permanent representative of Myanmar, and I now give the floor to the representative of Uganda.
Thank you. Madam Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who just recently secured a fresh and overwhelming mandate from the people of Uganda. I also bring you warm greetings from the Pearl of Africa, the source of the River Nile, the longest river in the world, and home to 80% of the surviving mountain gorillas. At the outset, Uganda aligns herself with the statements delivered by Uruguay on behalf of G77 and China, Liberia on behalf of the African Group, Venezuela on behalf of the Group of Friends in the defense of the Charter, and Belarus on behalf of the Group of Friends for the Family. This statement, presented on behalf of the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, articulates Uganda's experiences, challenges, opportunities, and policy directions in enhancing social well-being through human capacity and development. It is anchored in the 4th National Development Plan, NDP4, and focuses on skills development, social protection, youth empowerment, gender equality, and culture and creative industrial areas. Madam Chair, Uganda's population is estimated at 45.9 million, with approximately 73.2% below the age of 30. This youthful demographic structure presents a significant opportunity for accelerated economic growth through the demographic dividend, provided that investments in human capital, employment creation, and social protection are sustained. The 4th National Development Plan, 2025 to 2030, places people at the center of development and identifies human capital development, social protection, and inclusive participation as enablers of structural transformation. Since 2022, Uganda has intensified efforts to strengthen demand-driven skills development and improve youth transitions from education to work. Recognizing persistent skills mismatches and high youth underemployment, government policy has shifted towards practical, work-based learning and entrepreneurship. The National Apprenticeship and Graduate Voluntary Program implemented by the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development provides structured workplace exposure for young people. By 2024-2025, over 520 youth apprentices had completed certified training, with approximately 73% transitioning into employment, while about 242 graduate volunteers were placed in public and private institutions, of whom nearly 75% secured employment after placement. In addition, government-operated youth skills development centers continue to provide vocational and entrepreneurship training to out-of-school youth and school leavers, contributing to employability and self-employment. The Youth Livelihood Program, YLP, remains a flagship youth entrepreneurship intervention, supporting over 245,870 youth, 46% female, and financed more than 20,500 youth enterprises nationwide, and strengthened integration with local economic development structures, including the parish development model. Madam Chair, since 2022, Uganda has strengthened gender-responsive livelihood support through targeted financing, skills development, and enterprise formalization. The Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, UWEP, and the GROW project provide affordable financing, business skills, and mentorship to women entrepreneurs. Uganda is the only sub-Saharan country with an Equal Opportunities Commission that focuses on structural discrimination. It is the country that has mandatory gender and equity compliance legislation regarding government financing and budgeting. Uganda regards social protection as a productive investment that enhances human capital, resilience, and social stability. The social assistance grants for empowerment program provides regular cash transfers to older people, contributing to improved food security, healthcare access, and intergenerational support in beneficiary households. Government also supports persons with disabilities through livelihood grants, skills training, and institutional capacity building. In 2025, government operationalized a 28 billion Creative Arts Fund to provide affordable financing to artists and creative entrepreneurs targeting young people in Uganda. Culture-based livelihoods contribute not only to income generation, but also to national identity, behavior change, and social stability. Despite progress, Uganda faces persistent challenges including youth unemployment, skills mismatch, gender and disability-based inequities, fragmentation of social interventions, and vulnerability to global shocks. At the same time, opportunities exist in digital platforms for skills delivery and social protection payments, expansion of creative industries, strong community-based delivery systems, and regional and global partnerships. Madam Chair, in conclusion, Uganda's experience demonstrates that equal opportunities and affirmative action for young people helps in guaranteeing their right to participate in the development processes. This in turn unlocks their potential and creativity. Through sustained investments in skills, social protection, youth creativity, gender equality, equity, and culture, anchored in NDP4, Uganda is laying the foundation for a productive, cohesive, and future-ready society. Uganda looks forward to sharing its experiences and learning from global partners at this meeting of the UN Commission on Social Development. I thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the representative of Uganda, and I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the outset, I would like to congratulate you and the members of the Bureau on your election to lead the Commission of the Social Development in its 64th session, and we express our confidence in your leadership. We subscribe to Uruguay on behalf of the Group of 77 and on the statement on behalf of the African Group. This session, which follows the Second World Summit for Social Development, is particularly important as it is the first opportunity to discuss the translation of the renewed commitments expressed in the Doha Declaration into concrete results and the acceleration of action on poverty eradication, decent work, and social inclusion as the main pillars for achieving inclusive development. Algeria stresses its firm belief in the principles of social justice, solidarity, and equality, as they are the cornerstone for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. We renew our commitment to multilateral action and international cooperation to establish universal social protection and decent work. This requires continued work on innovative and sustainable solutions, including the development of sustainable financing mechanisms, the adoption of modern technologies, the strengthening of global partnerships, and the exchange of expertise in order to contribute to advancing the global social development agenda. Algeria places social justice at the heart of its development model by consolidating the social character of the state in line with the program of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, which has allowed the consolidation and expansion of the gains made in this field through the adoption and implementation of comprehensive and harmonious public policies to combat poverty, protect vulnerable groups, and promote inclusion. This endeavor is part of a vision based on promoting equality among all citizens without any discrimination and ensuring the inclusion of vulnerable groups and people with special needs, which is a vision enshrined in the Algerian constitution and reflected in the 10 commitments of the 1995 summit and the Copenhagen Declaration and the SDGs. In order to promote social development and social justice and to maintain a significant growth rate, we have paid special attention to improving livelihoods, fighting poverty, and strengthening the purchasing power. And therefore, we have approved an initial increase in the national minimum wage, reviewing wages and pensions from 2026, exempting low incomes from taxes, and expanding the Solidarity Grant to include vulnerable groups and persons with disabilities. It has also taken indirect social measures to enable Algerians from all segments of society to live in dignity. These measures include the renewal of the rent-to-buy program of the National Agency for Housing Improvement and Development, ADEL, for third phase, and the construction of more than 80,000 housing units, in addition to the state subsidies for basic consumer goods, which have not seen a rise in prices for years, despite fluctuations in global markets. The same is true for energy, where the prices have remained stable despite the increase in domestic consumption. The Algerian social protection system is an integral part of a unique development model that has enabled Algeria to rank at an advanced level in the continental level in the Human Development Index. We achieved quite a leap in the field of social protection as a key pillar to achieve social justice and equality by providing a comprehensive safety net based on supporting the most needy groups, which reflects the social character of the state, while striving to promote and expand these gains. Algeria, in line with the program of the President of the Republic and in line with the Doha Political Declaration, has worked on the following. First, extending the health protection to all groups, including students, the unemployed, and those with chronic diseases, with ensuring free treatment in public institutions and ensuring that Social Security will cover the cost of treatment in the private sector, aware of the multiplier effects of care and support systems. Second, empowering women and protecting their rights, and supporting motherhood by extending maternity leave to 5 months in order to enhance the social protection of working women and consecrating the principle of equal pay and promotion opportunities, supporting a productive family as a tool for women's empowerment and for promoting national economy in a comprehensive vision of social and economic development. This has made food security a national priority by protecting natural resources and encouraging investment to ensure food sovereignty, supporting people with special needs and the elderly by providing them with all forms of support through national programs to enhance the protection and professional and social inclusion, while providing support and health care to their fathers and mothers, taking into account their increasing need for care with an age which ensures a decent life for them, fighting poverty and enhancing purchasing power, and protecting and ensuring children's rights, developing national strategies to deal with the challenges posed by climate change in a multi-sectoral framework, and developing a national strategy from 2025 to 2030 for digital transformation. In conclusion, Algeria, due to the commitment of its political leadership to the principle of equality and the social character of the state, will always renew its firm commitment to the provision of conditions for a decent life for every citizen throughout the whole country, through public policies that guarantee equality, equity, and inclusivity for all to access housing, health, education, transport, and other necessary services. Thank you for your kind listening.
I thank the representative of Algeria, and I now give the floor to the representative of Costa Rica.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Costa Rica reaffirms its commitment to the recent Doha Declaration on Social Development. We also endorse the Copenhagen Declaration Programme of Action and the link with the Sustainable Development Goals and fulfillment of international human rights obligations. My country is committed to a path of social development and well-being for all persons. This path should reflect the financial commitments and translate them into real and tangible progress. We encourage promoting the effective implementation of the Sevilla commitment and to the strengthening of the coordination between global and regional financing platforms. We must mobilize the necessary resources to move towards a more inclusive, just and resilient and development-oriented international financial system. I would now like to refer to 2 points that for my country are particularly pertinent. Firstly, the elimination of poverty. Poverty is not just a lack of income. Poverty limits access to productive resources, to education, to healthcare and to other essential services, and it deprives millions of people of the full enjoyment of their rights. According to the most recent estimates of the World Bank Group, some 700 million people, or 8.5% of the world's population, are living in extreme poverty. That means less than $2.15 per day. Eradicating poverty requires policies that promote sustainable, inclusive and equitable economic growth, full employment and decent work, strong social protection systems and access to basic services. My second point relates to social justice for all women and girls. Women represent some 2/3 of the total adult population that is unable to read, and this reflects entrenched inequalities. These are exacerbated when they intersect with poverty, rural living or social exclusion. And these divides are not inevitable. They are a reflection of political decisions, budgetary priorities, and regulatory frameworks that are still not able to guarantee equity. Lack of access to education limits the economic autonomy of women, reduces their participation in public life, and it perpetuates cycles of poverty and exclusion. We should strengthen public policies in a comprehensive manner to ensure inclusive and quality education for women and girls, with social protection systems that take account of their specific needs and that also eliminate discriminatory norms and practices. And at the same time, the United Nations must demonstrate that coherence generates impact. Ensuring and strengthening access to justice for women and girls is a priority theme of the 70th session of the CSW, which Costa Rica had the honor of presiding in March. This issue is at the heart of the rule of law and social reconstruction, and it requires a coordinated response from the multilateral system. However, decades of fragmented efforts, sectoral approaches and disconnected mandates have failed to sustainably break the cycle of impunity. And in this regard, we very much hope that the CSW70 will offer a unique opportunity to advance towards coherent and complementary and action-oriented approaches that are really able to translate political commitments into tangible results and to contribute substantively to the reform process in this organization, such as UN 80, even in a multilateral environment marked by increasing political and financial pressures. Finally, Madam Chair, Costa Rica urges us not to lose sight of the spirit of social development and that we should once again all seek to reduce social inequalities and promote social justice so that all people, regardless of their condition or specific circumstances, have access to the opportunities necessary to improve their quality of life. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Costa Rica, and I now give the floor to the representative of Morocco.
Madam Chair, at the outset, the delegation of the Kingdom of Morocco extends its warm congratulations to you on your election as chair of the 64th session of the Commission for Social Development and assures you of Morocco's full cooperation throughout this session. My delegation stresses the importance of policy coherence, inclusive governance, and strengthened multilateral cooperation to build resilient and cohesive societies. The Second World War Summit for Social Development held in Doha marked an important renewal of global commitment. The Doha Political Declaration, which Morocco had the honor to co-facilitate, reaffirmed shared priorities, including the eradication of poverty in all its forms, the promotion of full and productive employment and decent work, the strengthening of inclusive and sustainable social protection systems, gender equality, and the inclusion of persons in vulnerable situations. These commitments remain central to the work of this Commission and to the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. In this regard, Morocco welcomes the report of the Secretary General on the priority team. The report rightly highlights the need to overcome fragmented policy making and to better align economic, social, environmental, and digital policies. It underlines the value of whole of government and whole of society approaches supported by integrated data systems, coherent financing, and shared accountability. Madam Chair, at the national level, Morocco has adopted a comprehensive approach to social development guided by the leadership and strategic vision of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. This vision places social protection and the consolidation of the social state at the heart of employment as essential foundations for dignity, equity, and inclusion. Over the past 2 decades, sustained reforms have led to tangible progress in living standards and expanded access to essential services. Morocco is in an advanced phase in the implementation process of an ambitious reform of its social protection system. This includes the generalization of health coverage, the extension of family allowances, and the expansion of pension and social safety nets to populations previously without coverage. The Royal Vision promotes a new generation of territorial development programs that build on local potential, strengthen advanced regionalization, and foster solidarity and complementarity among Morocco's regions. In this regard, the 2026 Finance Bill places the reduction of social and special disparities at the center of public action. It prioritizes employment creation, the strengthening of basic social services, sustainable water resource management, and integrated regional development projects. These efforts are complemented by targeted programs to reduce social and territorial disparities. At the same time, the government remains attentive to persistent challenges, including unemployment, low female labor force participation, and the impact of external shocks such as climate change and inflationary pressures. In line with the principles highlighted in the Secretary General's report, Morocco emphasizes the importance of strong political leadership, cross-sectoral coordination, and the integration of social objectives into planning and budgeting processes. Morocco also attaches great importance to data-driven policymaking, inclusive participation, transparency, and accountability in order to achieve measurable and lasting social outcomes. In conclusion, Madam Chair, Morocco reaffirms the central role of the Commission for Social Development as a key platform for advancing social justice and inclusive development within the United Nations system. Morocco stands ready to continue working closely with all delegations and the Secretariat with a shared commitment to translating our collective aspirations into concrete progress that truly leaves no one behind. I thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the representative of Morocco, and I now give the floor to the representative of Senegal.
Madame la Présidente,
Madam Chair, my delegation noted with satisfaction the reports of the Secretary General calling for accelerated implementation of the Copenhagen Declaration as well as the Doha Program for Social Development. We have also taken note of the review of progress achieved as well as persistent challenges facing African countries when it comes to social development, specifically within the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals and the social aspects of NEPAD. We also welcome the note from the Secretariat, which sets out an analysis of the contribution of the healthcare and resilient assistance systems, their contribution to poverty reduction, and to the preservation of dignity throughout life cycles. In order to have impactful initiatives geared towards addressing growing vulnerability exacerbated by proliferation of conflict, as well as health and socioeconomic crises, which in turn have compounded pre-existing inequalities and shed light on difficulties encountered by households, particularly women, young people, children, persons with disabilities, and the elderly. To achieve this, significant efforts need to be undertaken. Madam Chair, it is now established that the only way to achieve sustainable development and, in particular, to reduce poverty is by eliminating inequality. For this reason, my country has established a solid foundation of social protection, and this is based on a national social protection strategy. Today, this is underpinned by the recertification of the Single National Registry, whose scope includes 451,000 to 1 million vulnerable households, with a new targeting system that is more accurate and more equitable. In 2024, more than 200,000 households benefited from monetary transfers as part of social nets, and thousands of citizens received assistance in the form of goods and cash as part of our efforts to combat food insecurity and climate shocks. This has contributed to the reduction of monetary poverty and the enhancement of resilience of households. Moreover, the Systematic Adhesion Program for Universal Health Care Coverage was launched in 2025. This program paves the way for universal health protection and coverage, specifically for informal sector workers, and these are people who represent more than 90% of the active population. Turning to persons with disabilities, public policies have a framework that is the social orientation law for the protection and the promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities, and this includes 16 mechanisms for inclusion of persons with disabilities. We, under the Ministry for Family and Social Action, we have produced an overall 100,021 equal opportunity cards, which provide access to multi-sectoral social nets, including family security grants, universal health coverage, readaptation, and free public transport. The draft law for the rights of elderly persons and related texts have also been implemented. This is a reflection of our commitment towards succeeding generations and all generations. Our government is working towards effective implementation of social policies through single social windows and with significant buy-in from local community-based organizations. For sustainable development, there's a need to be achieved. There's a need for gender equality, and therefore we have a national strategy for gender equality and equity. And this is an important pillar for us, with significant progress having been made. This progress notwithstanding, efforts still need to be undertaken to surmount significant obstacles, including unequal access to decent work, vulnerability of young girls in the light of educational and health-related obstacles. For this reason, we have a strategy for the protection of the child and the agenda focusing on girls. This is focused on education, on healthcare and protection against all forms of exploitation and violence. Madam Chair, Senegal, like many other countries in Africa, is facing structural economic constraints, which inter alia are linked to debt and budgetary pressure. And yet we have opted to transform this obstacle into an opportunity by leveraging our full potential of our population and focusing on international solidarity. In this spirit, we promote economic empowerment of women and persons with disabilities through the promotion of entrepreneurship, training, and financing for income-generating activities, skills and technology transfers, investments in young people, the social economy, and solidarity. We have a clear conviction, namely, international solidarity must not be limited to assistance. International solidarity must be rooted in an approach of co-development and shared accountability. We remain wedded to our vision of human, inclusive, resilient social development where every citizen counts and where nobody is left behind. I thank you for your kind attention.
I thank the representative of Senegal, and I now give the floor to the representative of Sri Lanka.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates. My delegation congratulates the Chair and the members of the Bureau on the election and assures Sri Lanka's full cooperation throughout this session. My delegation aligns itself with the statement delivered on behalf of the Group of 77 and China. This session convenes shortly after the conclusion of the Second World Summit for Social Development held in Doha in November last year. Sri Lanka views the adoption of its outcome document, the Doha Political Declaration, as an important collective achievement. The task before us now is to ensure that the commitments reaffirmed in Doha are reflected in our future action. The emerging issue before the Commission this year highlights that responsibility. Care and support systems shape whether people are able to live with security, participate in economic life, and maintain dignity, even as they face vulnerability. Sri Lanka approaches this issue with the understanding that care needs arise at different stages of life and take different forms. Support for children, persons with disabilities, those living with chronic illnesses, and older persons must be anchored in policies that recognize individual needs and respond to them in a practical manner. Income support alone is not sufficient if it is not accompanied by access to services and community-level support. Our national social protection policy builds on 4 pillars: social assistance, social care, social insurance, and labor market inclusion. The policy is backed by targeted allocation for disabled, kidney patients, and school nutrition. We maintain our commitment to universal health coverage and expanded higher education access through scholarships. Sri Lanka's development pathway has long placed emphasis on social investment as a means of building trust within society. Free education and universal access to health care have been sustained priorities, reflecting the belief that opportunity should not depend on income or location. These policies have helped maintain social stability, including during periods of economic stress. As a party to all major ILO conventions, we have reflected their principles domestically, keeping our people's well-being, especially the most vulnerable, at our national agenda's core. More recently, Sri Lanka has sought to strengthen social protection measures for households facing acute vulnerability. Through the assessment program, support is provided to low-income households using differentiated categories intended to reflect varying levels of need. Particular attention has been given to persons with disabilities and individuals facing severe health challenges, including through expanded coverage, increased monthly assistance. These measures reflect an effort to protect basic living standards where care needs impose additional burdens on families. Sri Lanka also recognizes that dignity is closely linked to living conditions and the cost of meeting basic needs. National initiatives have therefore focused on improving access to adequate housing for low-income households alongside measures intended to ease cost pressures on essential goods. For a developing country emerging from a period of economic difficulty, sustaining social investment requires careful choices. Natural disasters place additional pressure on limited public resources and disproportionately affect those already at risk. These realities underscore the importance of policy coordination at the national level as well as supportive international environment. In this context, Sri Lanka emphasizes the relevance of the recent outcomes of the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development. The Sevilla commitment provides a timely framework for supporting countries facing constrained fiscal space while seeking to sustain social investment. For countries emerging from economic crisis, the ability to finance social protection and care-related services in a predictable manner remains fundamental. Progress in this area will depend on financing approaches that are responsive to national circumstances and that allow developing countries to prioritize social development without compromising recovery. Sri Lanka therefore emphasizes the need for international cooperation that supports social spending, expands financial space, and recognizes the constraints faced by developing countries. Progress in building resilient care and support systems will depend on this shared responsibility. In conclusion, Sri Lanka remains committed to advancing approaches that protect dignity and reduce poverty through practical, inclusive social policies. We look forward to engaging constructively in the work of this session. I thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Sri Lanka, and I kindly ask delegates to remain silent when member states deliver their national statements. And I now give the floor to the representative of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wish to congratulate you and the members of the Bureau on your election to this most important body, charged with the responsibility for following up on your commitments from Copenhagen to Doha. Permit me to also express our appreciation to the Secretary General and the Secretariat for their reports in respect of the priority theme and issues under discussion. Madam Chair, we are keenly aware that current geopolitical and socioeconomic realities can overwhelm gains made and further impinge on efforts to stem the gaps of inequality. Nevertheless, what has been made clear by the many contributions voiced in this room is the continued commitment to people-centered development. Trinidad and Tobago, too, subscribes to this principle, which serves as the foundation for policy formulation and action. Long-standing initiatives to care for the vulnerable in our society continue through the Ministry of the People, Social Development and Family Services. These include the administration of Senior Citizens Pension, Public Assistance Grant, Disability Assistance Grant, Food Support Programs, and General Assistance Grants in relation to, among others, housing, education, clothing, and urgent temporary assistance. As part of our decent work agenda, the Ministry of Labour, Small and Micro Enterprise Development has relayed Cabinet's intention to pursue several legislative amendments, which include amendments to the Maternity Protection Act, which will seek to remove the restriction of maternity benefits to once every 24 months, ensuring benefits apply to every pregnancy, introduce statutory protections and allotted time for breastfeeding, and extend leave benefits to fathers and guardians. Intentions to reform the Retrenchment and Severance Benefits Act include expanding the definition of redundancy from a surplus of labor to include insolvency, receivership, and other reasons for the discontinuation of operations. The establishment of a guaranteed institution or severance benefits fund, and the consideration of a revision of compensation rates to 3 weeks pay per year for employees with 1 to 5 years of service and 1 month's pay for those with over 5 years of service. While mindful of the digital divide, Trinidad and Tobago is cognizant of the potential to harness technological developments and artificial intelligence as an accelerator of human development. The country has joined the Global 50 in 5 campaign for the purpose of developing digital public infrastructure in a safe, inclusive, and seamless manner. Further, in collaboration with UNDP and UNESCO, the National Artificial Intelligence Assessment Initiative has been rolled out. Through this mechanism, UNDP AI Landscape Assessment and UNESCO's Readiness Assessment methodology will be employed to evaluate our preparedness for AI adoption across 6 critical dimensions: governance, policy, digital infrastructure, ethics, institutional capacity and inclusion, with a view towards designing a national roadmap that is grounded in ethics, human rights, inclusion and transparency, supports innovation, and delivers meaningful and sustainable benefits for national development. This country's partnership with OpenAI in respect of its Education for Countries initiative will also assist us in building a future-ready education system by embedding AI tools into schools and universities to personalize learning, reducing administrative burdens for educators, and equipping the workforce with the skills required to thrive in the global digital economy. Now numbering 23, ICT Access Centers for Underserved Communities, a range of free services include digital skills development opportunities and support in using digital technologies, access to internet and computer devices, and training and conference facilities for learning and collaboration. In an effort to provide free and easy access to broadband internet in public spaces, TT Wi-Fi will also be assessed in a range of health institutions, schools, libraries, and transportation hubs. Madam Chair, our activities highlight the intrinsic value of partnership, of collaboration at all levels. To this end, I take this opportunity to express appreciation to all the stakeholders in our development, inclusive of the various UN funds, programs, and agencies, and other international organizations, our bilateral partners, non-governmental organizations, the private sector, among others who journey with us. I thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the permanent representative of Trinidad and Tobago, and I now give the floor to the deputy permanent representative of Malaysia.
Malaysia aligns itself with the statements of G77 and China, the group of friends of older persons, and the group of friends of the family, and delivers this statement in its national capacity. Malaysia remains firmly committed to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We recognize that social development is central to sustainable progress. In this regard, social justice, dignity, and equity continue to guide our national development priorities to ensure that no one is left behind. The National Social Policy 2030 serves as an overarching framework aligning key social policies across ministries and agencies and sets the national direction for human development and resilient social systems. Implemented through the National Social Policy Plan of Action 2026-2030, to be launched in April this year, key initiatives include the establishment of the National Scam Response Center, the expansion of reproductive and social health education in 2027, and enhanced support and management measures for vulnerable prison inmates. Malaysia is responding strategically to demographic change through the National Action Plan for Older Persons 2026-2030. The plan promotes healthy, active, and dignified aging. It does so through long-term care, integrated support services, and community-based initiatives, including a targeted monthly cash transfer for eligible older persons living below the poverty line. Last year, more than 165,000 older persons benefited from this program, with an allocation of over $290 million. Complementing this, 217 senior citizens activity centers and expanded home help services implemented in partnership with civil society partners supported more than 47,000 older persons in community settings and more than 6,000 older persons living alone. In parallel, Malaysia has launched the National Action Plan on Children 2026-2030, comprising 141 strategic actions across 4 priority areas. The plan seeks to strengthen child protection systems, promote safe and inclusive environments, and enhance children's well-being, including in the digital sphere. Madam Chair, strong institutional mechanisms underpin Malaysia's efforts to advance social development and social justice. The National Social Council, chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister, serves as the national platform for deliberating social issues, guiding policy direction, and monitoring the implementation of the National Social Policy 2030. Reinforcing this effort, the Social Protection Council, chaired by the Prime Minister, coordinates national social protection policies. The Council is leading the development of a comprehensive social protection policy framework aimed at strengthening integrated data systems and streamlining the national approach to social protection. These reforms have contributed to tangible progress under Malaysia's zero hardcore poverty agenda. As a result, the hardcore poverty rate declined to 0.09% in 2024. Malaysia continues to strengthen its social protection system through evidence-based, life cycle and child-sensitive approaches. In Budget 2026, allocations for cash assistance administered by the Department of Social Welfare were increased to over $780 million, including targeted measures such as learning allowances for parents of autistic children, reflecting a sustained commitment to inclusive and equitable social investment. Malaysia also recognizes the care economy as a vital pillar of sustainable development and social well-being, and has launched the Malaysia Care Strategic Framework and Action Plan to strengthen the care ecosystem through professionalization, improved quality standards, and multi-stakeholder partnerships. In support of this, Malaysia's Budget 2026 provided a substantial allocation to strengthen the care ecosystem, including investments in caregiving training through the Caregiving TVET program and the development of national care standards for older persons and persons with disabilities, ensuring consistent, safe, and dignity-centered care across institutional, community, and home-based settings. Madam Chair, to conclude, Malaysia remains committed to advancing social development through inclusive, coordinated, and equitable policies, and we stand ready to continue working with member states to strengthen social protection systems, eradicate poverty, and ensure dignity for all, in line with our shared commitment under the 2030 Agenda. I thank you.
I thank the Deputy Permanent Representative of Malaysia, and I now give the floor to the representative of Kuwait.
شكرا السيد الرئيسة. بداية أود أن أعبر عن تأييد بلاد.
Thank you. We align ourselves with the statement delivered on behalf of the G77 and China and the group of friends of the family. We welcome the report of the Secretary General on promoting the promotion of social justice and development through comprehensive policies. It provides an accurate analysis of the current challenges and practical recommendations to implement the 2030 Agenda and the Copenhagen Declaration, as well as the Doha Declaration. We agree with the recommendations that the continuation of poverty and inequality can be attributed to the lack of social policies. This is due to weak coordination between the social, economic, and environmental aspects. This requires a comprehensive policy based on inclusiveness. We attach great importance and priority to social development because it is a cornerstone for our development model based on human dignity, equal opportunity, as part of the 2035 Kuwait vision, which is based on the promotion of health, education, and social justice while ensuring no one is left behind. We have taken tangible steps to promote our policies through coordination between government institutions and ensuring planning is based on national priorities while including social aspects in our planning. We continue to invest in healthcare for everyone, especially people with disability, elderly people, women, and children, while giving special attention to the promotion of decent work and the economic empowerment of youth. We stress that the Second World Summit for Social Development was critical in the promotion of social development globally, given growing inequalities and technological and environmental challenges. The current phase requires moving from commitment to implementation through comprehensive policies that address the root causes of marginalization. We commend the efforts of Sisterly Qatar, which hosted the summit, which provided good impetus to promote social development and accelerate the implementation of sustainable development, especially for women and girls. We stress that social protection is a cornerstone for well-being and for the promotion of social resilience, especially for women and girls. We have built a comprehensive social development structure and social protection structure that is based on rights and that promotes equal opportunities. At the regional and international levels, we continue to play an effective role in promoting social development outside our borders through the Kuwaiti Fund for Development, because we believe that social justice is a collective responsibility that goes beyond borders. In conclusion, we renew our full commitment to working with member states and the United Nations as well as other partners to promote coordinated and comprehensive policies that accelerate the implementation of the SDGs. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Kuwait, and I now give the floor to the representative of Belarus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, colleagues, for the majority of people, social policy is measured not by documents and not by language, but rather by very simple things. The opportunity of receiving medical assistance, confidence in work generating stable income, understanding that amid difficult life circumstances, the state does not sideline itself. And this practical understanding is precisely what underpins our social approach. We have continued to prioritize the human individual and the individual's real needs at various stages of life, from supporting the family, bringing up children, to caring for older persons, persons with disabilities, and those who have found themselves in difficult circumstances. Social solutions are taken by taking into account how they reflect on the day-to-day lives of specific individuals and not merely statistics. This approach means responsibility and accountability of the state for the preservation of social stability and a fair balance within society. We are talking not about formal equality, but rather the desire to provide every person with access to basic social services and opportunities for decent life. Support for vulnerable categories of people at the same time is viewed not as an exception, but as a natural component of the social system. Our social policy prioritizes support for the family and the role of women in society. In 2026 has been officially proclaimed the Year of the Belarusian Woman, and this was proclaimed by our president, Alexander Lukashenko. This is a reflection and recognition of women's contribution to strengthening the family, bringing up children, and resilient societies as a whole. Over the course of the year, conditions are being created for the professional fulfillment, social activity of women, harmoniously balancing work and family obligations, as well as additional protections for their rights and their interests. Our government and local governing bodies have been instructed to prepare for and implement measures which are geared towards supporting those aims. Belarus views social development in the broader context as well. We have been contributing to providing for food security. Our country bases ourselves on the understanding of the interconnection of present-day challenges and the responsibility of states for stability and development. Madam Chair, global inequality remains one of the most acute problems plaguing the modern-day world. This is shaped by objective economic factors and opportunities of certain countries to significantly affect these processes. These opportunities are significantly limited. At the same time, it is clear that the situation is worsened when the existing imbalance is further disrupted by artificial development barriers. Unilateral coercive measures directly affect the economies of states and impact people's standards of living, especially in countries which need support. Strengthening social cohesion and advancement towards a greater global justice is possible through the expansion of cooperation, abandonment of the logic of sanctions, development of dialogue, technology transfer, and knowledge transfer. Belarus remains open to engage in such cooperation, and we are keen to engage in mutually beneficial partnership. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the representative of Belarus, and I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Kyrgyzstan.
Madam Chair, distinguished delegates, social development is a clear priority for the Kyrgyz Republic. We demonstrate this commitment through practical action and active engagement both on national and international level. It's an honor for us to serve on the Bureau of the Commission, and we sincerely thank the Asia-Pacific Group for its trust, as well as our colleagues in the Bureau and the Secretariat for their cooperation and support. Another commitment was made years ago when Kyrgyzstan initiated and, with the board's broad support of the partners, achieved the approval of February 20 as a World Day of Social Justice by the United Nations General Assembly. This year, on February 20th, mission of Kyrgyzstan and the International Labour Organization will host another annual commemorative event at the ILO office. This year, the event will take place in the context of the follow-up to the Second World Summit for Social Development and the adoption of the Doha Political Declaration. We extend a cordial invitation to all member states and interested parties to participate in this significant event. Speaking of the Second World Summit for Social Development, we would like to commend Qatar, Belgium and Morocco for their excellent hosting of this important event and skillful facilitating of the outcome document. Doha Political Declaration reaffirms that the Commission for Social Development has the primary responsibility for the follow-up of the summit and review of the implementation of the Copenhagen Declaration and Programme of Action. As a member of the Commission, the Kyrgyz Republic, at the level of the Deputy Chairman of the Cabinet of Ministers, took an active part at the summit in Doha, reaffirming our commitment to advancing social justice. We join all other delegations in placing the need to strengthen three interrelated pillars: poverty eradication, full and productive employment, and social integration. Fully sharing this approach, we consider in the foundation of our national policy. For the Kyrgyz Republic, poverty eradication, employment expansion, and social inclusion have always been at the core of the state policy. The beginning of this decade brought serious challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic had a profound impact on the economy, the labor market, and the social protection system, significantly increasing the vulnerability of the population. During this period, the poverty rate rose to nearly 30%, particularly affecting children and rural communities. In response to these challenges, the government of the Kyrgyz Republic promptly implemented a comprehensive package of anti-crisis measures aimed at stabilizing the economy and supporting the population. In the years that followed, the economy demonstrated steady growth, averaging around 8% annually, while unemployment declined to a historic low. Public revenues increased, allowing for the expansion of social programs and higher levels of social benefits and pensions. As a result, the national poverty rate decreased to 25.7%. One of the flagship initiatives of the President of the Kyrgyz Republic, Mr. Sadyr Japarov, has been the Social Contract Program. Over the past 3 years, tens of thousands of low-income families have received support to start their own small businesses. This program has not only helped people move out of poverty, but has also become a powerful tool for fostering economic self-reliance, particularly among women and rural populations. We also attach great importance to the digitalization of the social protection system and the introduction of modern tools aimed at improving the situation of socially vulnerable groups. These measures have strengthened targeted support, enhanced interagency coordination, and made the social protection system more efficient, transparent, and accessible. The government places special emphasis on the strengthening the role of wages as the primary source of household income. We are improving approaches to setting the minimum wage so that it reflects the real needs of workers and ensures a decent standard of living. These efforts directly contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal on reducing inequality within countries and are closely linked to our initiative to introduce minimum social protection floors in line with international decent work standards. We view economic solidarity as the foundation of a resilient and sustainable society. Its practical expression lies in a social insurance system based on the principles of shared responsibility and equal opportunities. Kyrgyzstan continues to expand social protection coverage, introducing new forms of support and strengthen coordination among institutions to ensure that every citizen is protected against life risks and can fully exercise the right of the dignified life. Dear colleagues, as an active participant in international sustainable development initiatives, the Kyrgyz Republic recognizes the importance of building an inclusive society where the rights of all citizens, including persons with disabilities, are respected and effectively implemented. In 2019, Kyrgyzstan ratified the UN Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, as we fully share the principles of the Convention and consistently apply them in practice. Special attention is also given to human capital development, particularly education. Today, Kyrgyzstan is steadily advancing towards the goals set out in the National Development Program up to 2030. This strategic framework prioritizes poverty reduction, employment expansion, education and healthcare development, and stronger social protection. We are building an economy centered on people, their well-being and their ability to realize their potential at home. The Kyrgyz Republic stands ready to remain an active participant in global initiatives, to share its experience and to work together to advance the values of social justice and in a decent life for all. I thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the Permanent Representative of Kyrgyzstan, and I now give the floor to the Deputy Permanent Representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Slovenia aligns itself with the statement of the European Union and wishes to add the following in its national capacity. We welcome the priority theme of this session, as we strongly believe that social justice is achieved not through isolated measures, but through coherent and inclusive public action that connects social protection, care and support services, family policies, equal opportunities, and the inclusion of vulnerable groups. We place strong emphasis on policy coherence and whole-of-a-government approach. In Slovenia, we understand poverty as the result of an interplay of material deprivation, barriers to accessing rights and services, and unequal care burdens affecting families and individuals, particularly women. Single-parent households, predominantly headed by women, clearly illustrate how income insecurity and care burdens reinforce social exclusion. Through our policies, we therefore aim to strengthen both income security and the accessibility and quality of support services. Key policy framework is the National Implementation Plan, which sets out concrete measures to reduce poverty, improve access to services, and strengthen implementing organizations. We have progressively adjusted the minimum income in response to cost of living pressures and to strengthen income security in old age, including through introduction of a guaranteed widow's pension, thus reducing risk of poverty among older women. During the cost of living crisis, we introduced targeted one-off measures, including energy allowance for social assistance recipients and a cost of living supplement to child benefits, with particular attention to single-parent households and persons with disabilities. Madam Chair, we view care and support system as essential social infrastructure. We have strengthened social security centers, regulated on-call interventions, introduced regular professional supervision, simplified access to the supplementary allowances, and set legal basis for short-term crisis accommodation in case of acute distress. At the same time, we have increased funding for social protection programs, particularly in mental health, violence prevention, addiction, and support for vulnerable groups. Accessibility has been strengthened through clearer information and digital tools, including a guide to social rights and e-applications. Slovenia particularly emphasizes community-based approaches and the inclusion of vulnerable groups. We are, for example, establishing a network of multi-generational centers, a network of multi-purpose Roma centers, and we have added field personnel at the social service centers working with Roma communities. We continue to implement targeted social activation program, including employment support, development program to prevent violence, to work with perpetrators, and for early inclusion of children in kindergarten as the key tool for preventing exclusion. Dignity is inseparably linked to family policy and work-life balance. Slovenia reformed parental leave, strengthened non-transferable rights for both parents, enabled the use of part of non-transferable leave until the child's age of 8, and expanded flexible work arrangements. We introduced carers' leave for the care of close family member and improved income compensation. We also reformed foster care to strengthen safeguards for children and improve support for foster families. Slovenia remains firmly committed to human rights and equality. The full marriage equality and the national program for equal opportunities for women and men strengthen the strategic framework for addressing structural inequalities. In the field of violence prevention, we adopted the resolution and an action plan with several measures. We have also strengthened the rights of victims of violence at a workplace, including through the right to paid leave. Finally, we would like to highlight the resilience to crisis. Following the floods in 2023, Slovenia provided solidarity assistance and additional support to families through family centers, including childcare and psychosocial support. These experiences confirm that social justice depends on the state's ability to protect people quickly and in a coordinated manner, particularly in the time of crisis. Madam Chair, Slovenia believes that coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies are the foundation of a society that reduces poverty, strengthens dignity, and ensures that no one is left alone in distress. Policy coordination is the means, social justice and human dignity are the goal. I thank you.
I thank the Deputy Permanent Representative of Slovenia, and I now give the floor to the Permanent Representative of Cuba.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Cuba endorses the statements delivered by Uruguay on behalf of the G77 and China, and by Venezuela on behalf of the Group of Friends in Defense of the Charter of the United Nations. Indeed, we thank their members for their unwavering solidarity. The social development commitments made in Copenhagen and renewed in Doha remain an outstanding debt to our peoples. At the same time, the goals of the 2030 Agenda are increasingly distant from the daily realities of hundreds of millions of people, especially in developing countries. Today, humanity is facing unprecedented challenges. These are exacerbated by an unjust and unequal international order that perpetuates poverty and exclusion for the majority. How can we speak of social development in a world where more than 750 million people suffer hunger, where 2.3 billion suffer food insecurity, and 3.8 billion lack social security? How much further could we advance if at least a sum of the trillions of dollars squandered each year on the arms race were instead devoted to development? The answer is obvious, but it requires genuine political will and a paradigm shift in favor of the well-being of our peoples. It is imperative that the acts of aggression, threats, the use of force, the blackmail, and the coercion against sovereign states cease. Chair, in this complex scenario, the persistent and unacceptable imposition of unilateral coercive measures against the countries of the South, in open violation of international law and the Charter of the United Nations, exacerbates inequalities. It is the people who suffer directly as a result of the devastating impact of these practices. Cuba has been the victim of the most comprehensive, complex and prolonged system of coercive measures ever imposed against any country. The blockade severely limits the acquisition of medicines, reagents, medical equipment, and health technologies. It hinders and increases the cost of imports of food, fertilizers, and agricultural machinery. It restricts access to digital platforms, specialized software, and technological equipment that is necessary for inclusive and quality education training. These and many other restrictions and limitations have a direct impact on the well-being of families and on the quality of life of older persons, children, adolescents, women, and persons in situations of vulnerability. The siege against Cuba has intensified to the most extreme levels, from the infamous inclusion of our country on the list of countries that allegedly sponsor terrorism to the attack on Cuban medical cooperation, and more recently, the attempt to impose a total blockade on fuel supplies to our country. This extreme measure, which we categorically reject, exposes our people to extreme living conditions and unpredictable humanitarian consequences. Cuba does not pose a threat to any country. We are a peaceful country, one of solidarity and cooperation, a nation that is internationally recognized for our modest but constant contribution to health, education, and humanitarian assistance to nations in need, in particularly those of the Global South. Chair, despite these challenges, Cuba continues to promote inclusive, equitable, and people-centered policies in line with our commitments in the area of social development. With enormous efforts, we will continue to guarantee universal access to education, to healthcare, to social protection, equal opportunities, and we will ensure full participation in economic, social, and cultural life. And at the same time, we are committed to international cooperation, including South-South and triangular cooperation. For us, these are an essential means of advancing towards development. Against this backdrop, we emphasize the value of multilateralism and the urgent need for a new international order that is more just and equitable and peaceful as a prerequisite for addressing the global challenges and promoting the social and economic development of all peoples. I thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Cuba, and I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the outset, let me thank you and the members of the Bureau for the efforts devoted to preparing of this session. Georgia aligns itself with the statement made by the European Union, and in the national capacity, let me make several remarks. The establishment of social justice is a fundamental goal of the social policy in Georgia. Government's goal is to create a society where everyone, regardless of their age, health, ability, or geographic location, has the opportunity to realize their potential and contribute to the country's progress. To mitigate the social risks caused by poverty and to enhance the well-being of the population, targeted groups are provided with old age pensions, and financial assistances are given to the persons with disabilities, including children, survivors, displaced persons, residents of the mountainous regions, war veterans, individuals living below the poverty line, and other eligible categories. Significant attention is given to promoting the improvement of the demographical situation and providing variety of social rehabilitation and childcare services to the population. Social programs and services play a crucial role in supporting vulnerable families, promoting job creation, combating unemployment and social exclusion. Herewith, I would like to share Georgia's steps taken to advance this year's priority theme of social development and social justice. 1. In line with the economic indicators, the amounts of state pensions, state compensation, and social benefit packages for targeted groups are increased annually in accordance with established indexation rules. 2. The Targeted Social Assistance Program, established in 2005, is the country's main instrument for poverty reduction and prevention. The program is currently being updated with a new methodology aimed at improving targeting and better addressing the needs of vulnerable families, particularly those with children. 3. The annual budget of the state program on social rehabilitation and childcare is increased, enabling the provision of a broader range of services nationwide. 4. Personal assistance and home care services have been developed to support the independent living of older persons and persons with disabilities, thereby reducing the risk of institutionalization. 5. As of 2025, the provisions of personal assistance services has been delegated to municipalities. This transfer strengthens municipal institutions and improves the effectiveness of service delivery at the local level. And 6. To support persons with disabilities, 6 municipalities have established information and consulting service centers for independent living, which provide guidance, information, and referral to relevant services. Within its integrated policy framework, the government promotes improved social conditions for vulnerable and impoverished groups while pursuing an active employment policy. This approach is grounded in ensuring decent work for all citizens of Georgia through a strong legislative framework and effective monitoring mechanisms. Despite positive trends in reducing poverty and unemployment, significant challenges remain. Accordingly, the government of Georgia continues to pursue an integrated, human rights-based social policy aimed at advancing the core SDG principle of leaving no one behind. Regretfully, due to Russia's illegal ongoing occupation of Abkhazia and Tkhinvali regions of Georgia, the government of Georgia is deprived of the possibility to deliver above-mentioned services beyond the occupation line, where people continue to face flagrant violations of their human rights and security and humanitarian situation continue to be severe. I thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the permanent representative of Georgia, and I now give the floor to the United Arab Emirates representative.
Madam Chair, at the outset, please allow me to express the United Arab Emirates' appreciation to Ukraine as the chair of the 64th session for the Commission for Social Development in guiding our work. Building off of our collective energy at the Second World Summit for Social Development and the Doha Political Declaration, this year's priority theme could not be more relevant. From growing inequalities and persistent poverty to the disproportionate effects on the most vulnerable, today's challenges underscore the need for integrated national approaches that advance equity and inclusion to ensure that no one is left behind. Drawing from our personal experiences at the national, regional, and international levels, I would like to share the following recommendations on how we can achieve this. First, we need to strengthen coordinated and comprehensive national policies that place social development at the center of planning and governance. In the UAE, social priorities are guided by long-term national visions and aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals through the UAE National Committee on SDGs. This integrated approach ensures that social development is a shared responsibility across all sectors. Last year, the UAE's Ministry of Family also adopted its 2025 to 2027 strategy, which represents a significant leap forward in social development, underscoring the family's pivotal role as a fundamental pillar for fostering cohesive society and driving comprehensive, sustainable, and national development. Second, we must continue to promote inclusion and equal participation for all members of society, particularly those who may face barriers, if we are to break this cycle of exclusion. Through the UAE's national policy for empowering people of determination, we work to remove barriers, enhance accessibility, and support full participation in education, employment, and community life. Holistic care and support services are essential to ensuring dignity, independence, and social integration across the course of life. Third, we need to leverage innovation, digital transformation, and partnerships to support effective, evidence-based, and coordinated social policies. Last year, the UAE launched AI for Development initiative to develop digital infrastructure, enhance government services, and improve productivity. The UAE also invests in digital services and integrated systems that improve service delivery, strengthen coordination across institutions, and support informed policy making. Such approaches enhance the efficiency, accessibility, and responsiveness of social and care-related services. International cooperation and knowledge sharing remain essential in addressing multidimensional challenges that strengthening national capacities. Finally, advancing social justice requires the continued promotion of women and youth's full, equal, and meaningful participation. Their protection and inclusion are essential for our community's resilience and must remain priorities. In conclusion, Madam Chair, the UAE reaffirms its commitment to advancing coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies that improve social cohesion, empower individuals and families, and uphold dignity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the representative of United Arab Emirates, and now I give the floor to the representative of Jamaica.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Jamaica aligns itself with the statements delivered on behalf of the G77 and China and wishes to offer the following remarks in its national capacity. The priority theme before the Commission, advancing social development and social justice through coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies, is particularly relevant for small island developing states, where social development outcomes are increasingly shaped by interconnecting vulnerabilities, including economic shocks, climate-related disasters, demographic change, and high levels of informality in labor markets. For Jamaica, social development and social justice are pursued through an integrated policy approach that links social protection, employment, labor administration, and social inclusion. Central to this approach is the recognition that social policies must be mutually reinforcing, people-centered, and responsive to national realities, particularly in times of crisis. Recent experiences following Hurricane Melissa have underscored the importance of coordinated and adaptive social protection systems. In response, Jamaica strengthened institutional coordination across ministries, departments, and agencies, alongside partnerships with humanitarian and private actors to ensure timely assistance to affected households, protect livelihoods, and support early recovery. A key pillar of this response has been the Shelter Recovery Program, which provides targeted assistance for housing repair and rehabilitation to affected owner-occupied households, prioritizing vulnerable groups and ensuring transparent, accountable implementation. These efforts reaffirm the equity and inclusion are not achieved through isolated interventions, but through resilient systems capable of responding flexibly to evolving risks while safeguarding public trust. Madam Chair, with respect to Agenda Item 3B, Jamaica reaffirms the enduring relevance of the United Nations plans and programs of action pertaining to social groups and offer the following reflections. First, on disability inclusive development, Jamaica supports the continued advancement of a disability inclusive development agenda in line with international commitments and the principle of leaving no one behind. We emphasize the removal of barriers that limit access to education, employment, healthcare, social protection, and public services. In this regard, Jamaica has advanced digital and institutional reforms, including the rollout of the I Am Able digital service platform, which improves access to services for persons with disabilities, and ongoing work towards the development of a national code of practice to guide disability inclusion across public and private sectors. Jamaica further underscores the importance of the meaningful participation of persons with disabilities and their representative organizations in decision-making processes and national development planning. Second, on the World Programme of Action for Youth, Jamaica recognizes that young people are central to sustainable development and social justice. We stress the need to strengthen youth employment pathways, skill development, and access to decent work, including through improved school-to-work transitions, entrepreneurship support, digital skills training, and targeted labor market interventions. Jamaica further emphasizes that youth policy must address multidimensional vulnerabilities, including poverty, violence, mental well-being, and social exclusion, with particular attention to young women and young persons with disabilities. Third, on the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging 2002, Jamaica underscores the importance of protecting the dignity, income security, and well-being of older persons. We recognize population aging as a cross-cutting development issue requiring coordinated responses across health, social protection, housing, labor policy, and community-based services. Jamaica supports the strengthening of age-friendly services and resilient community support systems, particularly to safeguard older persons during emergencies and climate-related disasters. Fourth, on family issues, policies, and programs, Jamaica reaffirms that families remain an essential foundation of social development. We emphasize the importance of family response policies that strengthen household resilience, reduce poverty, and support caregiving responsibilities. This includes social assistance programs such as a program of advancement through health and education path, alongside complementary services that protect children, support women and caregivers, and mitigate the social and economic pressures that undermine family well-being. Jamaica also stresses the importance of safeguarding families during crises through timely, transparent, and accountable support mechanisms. Madam Chair, Jamaica remains committed to advancing coordinated, equitable, and inclusive social policies that promote social justice, resilience, and sustainable development for all. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Jamaica, and I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Lebanon.
سيد الرئيس بداية
Madam Chair, at the outset, I would like to congratulate the President of the Commission on Social Development and congratulate the members of your Bureau. We are delighted by the theme for this session that highlights social justice through inclusive social protections. We want to underscore that the principles of 1995 are still our guiding light in my country: elimination of poverty, providing decent employment to all, despite the growing challenges that we face today as a result of conflicts and inequalities and the consequences of climate change, amongst other things. In recent years, the crisis in Lebanon and across the region have been accumulated, together with the number of refugees and displaced persons continuing to increase. Of course, in addition to COVID-19, Israeli aggression, and other issues that have caused problems to reach unprecedented levels. So achieving social development requires stability and the creation of solid institutions. And so my country is at a very serious juncture. We are in the midst of a social crisis. We have chosen the path of resilience nonetheless. The government, in partnership with international organizations and civil society, has decided to adopt coordinated policies and just and balanced policies to combat poverty and achieve SDG 1. And so we share the experiences that have helped us shore up our social security system during crises. We have had partnerships with stakeholders and international organizations to ensure a long-lasting response for the families that are most in need. And so we renew our commitment to redouble our national efforts to eradicate inequality and poverty and to improve social inclusion. The world's leaders in adopting the Doha Declaration have made a historic commitment, and we in turn have adopted a series of reforms that expand the authority of the state across the territory. Another axis of our program entails strengthening trust in the state. We believe that we can achieve our goals if we launch reforms, and then we will be able to help our country recover in accordance with the Doha Declaration. We also are undertaking negotiations with the financial institutions to ensure national autonomy in terms of finances and to ensure funding for the reforms that we hope to undertake. Our economy should serve its people. And also in agricultural infrastructure and care, we are also investing in human capital to increase social and health coverage for all. We're working also on gender equality for the empowerment of young people and to improve the participation of women in decision-making. Similarly, the Social Affairs Department has a program from 2026 through 2030. This strategy seeks to achieve a social protection system that goes beyond just providing aid and assistance, but involves the private sector and NGOs. This will be the first social security system in the country, serving 20%. So far, 20% of girls and young people have benefited from our system. Inclusion and social cohesion will help us provide better care, and once again we call for peace and stability as a basis for security and for strengthening social protection systems, and ensuring international solidarity really leads to tangible results for countries suffering crises and conflicts. I thank you.
I thank the Permanent Representative of Lebanon, and I now give the floor to the Deputy Permanent Representative of Nepal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. Nepal aligns itself with the statement delivered on behalf of G77 and China. I wish to deliver the following remarks in national capacity. At the outset, I congratulate you, Madam Chair, and members of the Bureau on your respective election. I assure you of my delegation's full support in discharging your important responsibilities for a productive session ahead. The priority theme of this session, advancing social development and social justice through coordinated, equitable and inclusive policies, couldn't be timelier in view of headwinds we face to deliver on our global commitments. Excellencies, despite significant progress in poverty reduction, social protection and access to essential services, we are yet to fully achieve inclusive and sustainable development, as millions remain in extreme poverty and food insecurity amid rising inequalities, climate shocks, and conflict. Our goal is clear. We must deliver on commitments made in Copenhagen and Doha to achieve people-centered, inclusive, and equitable social development and justice, anchored in human dignity, solidarity, and shared responsibility, and responsive to the needs of the most vulnerable. We hope that the Commission will, with all sincerity and urgency, follow up the Doha Political Declaration for its full and timely implementation. Madam Chair, for Nepal, social development and social justice are not just national aspirations. They are constitutional imperatives towards building an egalitarian society. Economic, social, political, and cultural rights are guaranteed to all people with affirmative measures for the marginalized communities. Women, indigenous people, Dalits, persons with disabilities, and other excluded groups are constitutionally guaranteed representation in all state bodies. The current plan places good governance, social justice, and prosperity at the center of inclusive development. Nepal's overall progress on SDGs stands at over 41%, slightly above the global average. Poverty is halved in the last 3 decades. We have expanded gender parity in education, achieved near universal access to clean energy, and strengthened social protection system, including through universal old age allowance and nearly 80 social security schemes for vulnerable groups. We prioritize digital inclusion, youth entrepreneurship, decent job creation, productive capacity building, gender empowerment, inclusive governance, and evidence-based policy making rooted in lived experience and strong partnership as reflected in our commitment to the UN Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection. As a party to 24 conventions, including 7 core human rights treaties, we always uphold our international obligations in good faith. Yet, we are mindful of systemic challenges that persist, including entrenched inequalities, limited fiscal space, digital divides, climate shocks, and youth unemployment that continue to undermine social cohesion and development gains. Excellencies, moving forward, we must accelerate progress on Agenda 2030, scale up financing for social development and climate action, foster multilateralism and global cooperation with the UN at its core, leverage digital technologies for inclusive development, and reinforce UN system-wide coherence and enhance synergies to deliver on the commitments made in the Sevilla Commitment and the Doha Political Declaration, with a clear focus on real results on the ground. As we prepare to graduate from LDC category this year, we view that graduation must be smooth, sustainable, and irreversible, backed by adequate international support measures to ensure that graduation will be a reward, not a punishment. In conclusion, Excellencies, for sustainable development, the world needs delivery, not just declarations. Social development and social justice are achieved not by mere commitments we make, but by lives we transform. Nepal stands ready to work with all partners to advance poverty alleviation, promote productive employment and social inclusion, and accelerate the SDGs into tangible progress for all. I thank you.
I thank the Deputy Permanent Representative of Nepal, and I now give the floor to the representative of Nicaragua.
Señora Presidenta.
Madam Chair, Nicaragua endorses the statement delivered by Uruguay on behalf of the G77 and China, and by the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela on behalf of the Group of Friends in Defense of the Charter of the United Nations. Madam Chair, this year's session is taking place in a complex international environment marked by profound structural inequalities, multiple crises, and a growing breakdown of the social fabric in many parts of the world. Social development should be built through sovereign public policies that are equitable and inclusive and centered around people and their communities. There is no social justice without sovereignty, and there is no sustainable development without respect for the unique realities in each country. Nicaragua has implemented a comprehensive approach to human development that is underpinned by our national plan for combating poverty and for human development. It coordinates public policies designed to reduce inequalities, eradicate poverty and hunger, and designed to strengthen social cohesion by giving priority to education, universal healthcare, food security, decent housing, decent employment, full employment, and social protection, with special attention to families and to those sectors that have been historically excluded. These policies are grounded in community participation and a leading role for people as rights holders and agents of change, in this way strengthening social cohesion from the territories upwards and consolidating a culture of solidarity, peaceful coexistence, and collective responsibility. Madam Chair, the commitments of the World Social Development Summit in Copenhagen, today coordinated through Agenda 2030, are still fully valid. and they require political will and genuine cooperation, as well as respect for the sovereignty of states in order to eradicate poverty, promote full employment, and make progress towards social integration. Nicaragua expresses its profound concern for the contradictions that exist between official discourse on social justice and the persistence of illegal unilateral coercive measures, UCM, that are imposed by imperialist and neo-colonial powers. These represent an undeniable impediment to the achievement of the 2030 Agenda. These measures, unilateral coercive measures, gravely impact economic growth, social cohesion, and the ability of developing countries to implement public policies that are inclusive. Indeed, they undermine the right to development of our peoples, and they are an obstacle to the eradication of poverty and extreme poverty in all its forms and dimensions. Madam Chair, the Commission for Social Development should reaffirm itself as a space for cooperation in solidarity, free of politicization and double standards, a forum that respects national trajectories and that strengthens authentic and genuine multilateralism based on the sovereign equality of states and international solidarity. Nicaragua reiterates its commitment to this Commission, to the fight against poverty and inequalities, guided by our principles of patriotism, solidarity, unity, equity, and gender equality. And we are guided also by the defense of economic, social, and cultural rights of people. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Nicaragua, and I now give the floor to the representative of Hungary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Distinguished delegates, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Hungary welcomes the opportunity to address the Commission for Social Development at its 64th session and aligns itself with the statement delivered by the European Union. Hungary firmly believes that social development must be rooted in dignity, solidarity, and shared responsibility. National policies play a decisive role in strengthening social cohesion, supporting families, promoting employment, and ensuring that no one is left behind. For Hungary, the family represents both continuity and mutual support and remains the cornerstone of social cohesion. We firmly believe that supporting families contributes not only to the survival of our nation, but also to the competitiveness and sustainable economic growth. Strong families form the basis of a strong nation, and the stability of a society as a whole depends on their well-being. It is therefore of paramount importance to create an enabling environment in which individuals can successfully reconcile family life with their professional responsibilities. Hungary is committed to ensuring that these two spheres are not seen as competing priorities, but rather as complementary elements of a flexible and supportive institutional framework, one that allows both women and men to fully realize their potential. Through flexible working arrangements, comprehensive and adaptable parental leave system, and accessible early childhood care services, Hungary seeks to provide genuine freedom of choice for families. Particular attention is given to supporting women with young children, facilitating their return to the labor market, and promoting equal opportunities for all. Family support policies are fundamental not only to demographic and economic sustainability, but also to the personal development and well-being of individuals. Evidence shows that appropriate family support has a positive impact on mental health and plays a key role in strengthening social cohesion. In recent years, mental health has rightly gained recognition as an integral component of the overall well-being of individuals and families. Hungary therefore emphasizes the importance of person and family-centered, inclusive, and human rights-based social policies that respond effectively to the evolving needs of individuals and communities. Hungary remains committed to supporting the work of the international community, particularly in advancing goals related to poverty eradication, health, education, gender equality, and the reduction of inequalities. We will continue to develop coordinated family and social policies that support decent work, intergenerational solidarity, and resilient communities. In conclusion, Hungary reaffirms its conviction that advancing social development and social justice through coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies is essential to building cohesive, resilient, and sustainable societies. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the representative of Hungary, and I now give the floor to the representative of Iran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic Republic of Iran associates itself with the statements delivered on behalf of the Group of Friends in defense of the Charter of the United Nations, the Group of 77 and China, and the Group of Friends of the Family, and would like to elaborate on the following issues from the national perspective. The United Nations Development Programme has long championed a people-centered approach to development, emphasizing that true progress transcends mere economic growth. It is fundamentally about expanding human capabilities, development, and welfare. This paradigm underpins the social development objectives, a composite measure that integrates health, education, and income, reflecting the essential pillars of human well-being. The Islamic Republic of Iran has achieved remarkable progress in social development over the past 5 decades, from an estimated Human Development Index of 0.49 in the late 1970s, reflecting modest life expectancy, limited educational attainment, and constrained income levels. Iran has risen to be classified as the first among high human development countries according to the UNDP Human Development Report 2025. This long-term advancement underscores significant gains in health, education, and living standards, born with sustained investment in human capital and social infrastructure, even as recent economic and geopolitical challenges have moderated the pace of progress. Improvement in the core dimensions of social well-being are not merely statistical achievements. They strengthen societal resilience, enabling populations to absorb and adapt to social and economic shocks, enhance health outcomes, reduce vulnerability to disease and disability, while greater educational attainment empowers individuals to participate fully in economic and civil life. These gains are foundational for fostering trust, cooperation, and social cohesion, the very fabric of peaceful and resilient societies. As the Islamic Republic of Iran approaches the 47th anniversary of its Islamic Revolution, this milestone offers an opportunity to reflect on a pivotal era in the nation's modern trajectory. The past decades have witnessed profound transformations in social and political structures, guided by principles of independence, human development, and social inclusion, which is modified by Idalat in Islam. Iranian society has made substantial advances in literacy, higher education, and public health, with women and youth increasingly serving as drivers of progress. Investment in scientific research and the cultivation of a resilient cultural identity have further strengthened the nation's human capital, shaping a society that honors its historical roots while pursuing civil and scientific achievements for the future. Over this period, Iran's journey of social development has unfolded through its 7 national development and then progress plans. The United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for Iran 2023 to 2027 situates poverty reduction within a broader strategy to enhance socioeconomic resilience, emphasizing the objectives of social development, including poverty eradication and employment opportunities for both men and women. While this framework seeks to promote job creation and inclusive economic participation, progress must be understood in the context of prolonged unilateral coercive measures and external pressures that have constrained economic capacity, disrupted markets, and challenged national development efforts, directly affecting livelihood and social welfare. It is also important to note the external pressure targeting Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity have further complicated development efforts. These constraints have limited fiscal space, weakened social protection system, and complicated long-term planning. My delegation underscores that safeguarding national sovereignty is essential for achieving inclusive, peaceful, and resilient development. Despite these challenges, Iran has pursued a comprehensive and resilient approach to eradicating poverty and ensuring dignity for all its citizens. Strong national policies, long-term development strategies, and coordinated efforts across government institutions and local organizations have strengthened social protection systems and expanded access to essential services. Women, children, the elderly, and people with disabilities benefit from programs in employment, healthcare, housing, and community outreach, reflecting Iran's enduring commitment to equitable growth and the welfare of its people. While strengthening strides have been made, unilateral coercive measures remain a substantial barrier, limiting resources, destabilizing economic conditions, and concentrating the full implementation of inclusive social policies. The international community must recognize that sustainable social development is inseparable from respect for national sovereignty, peace, and cooperative engagement. Distinguished colleagues, the experience of Iran demonstrates that resilient people-centered development is both achievable and transformative, even in face of adversity. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Iran, and I now give the floor to the representative of Lao People's Democratic Republic.
Madam Chair, distinguished delegates, at the outset, my delegation would like to express its sincere appreciation to you, Madam Chair, as well as to the Bureau and the Secretariat for the effective organizations of these 64 sessions. My delegation strongly supports the priority themes of this session and aligns itself with the statement made by G77 and China on the urgent needs to translate the commitment for the 2025 Second World Summit for Social Development in Doha into concrete action to address the poverties, inequality, and social exclusion. These efforts are essential to ensure dignity for all and to advancing the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Madam Chair, in the last periods, social development and poverty eradication have been consistently central pillars of our national development strategies. Our approach is multidimensional, recognizing that poverty extends beyond income deprivation to include limited access to education, healthcare, social protection, and economic opportunities. In this regard, we have prioritized policies that expand access to essential services, strengthen social protection system, and target support to vulnerable groups, including women, children, persons with disability, older people, and community in rural areas. Guided by a whole of governments and whole of society approach, the Lao PDR had made tangible progress in reducing poverty and promoting inclusive growth, despite persistent structural challenges and external shocks. We attach great importance to empowering women and young people as drivers of inclusive and sustainable development. Initiatives such as the Innovation Challenge programs for the Lao Youth Unions and the Women's Entrepreneurship Development Frameworks aim to foster entrepreneurship, innovation, and participation in emerging sectors, including the green and digital economies. These initiatives are complemented by continuing efforts to strengthen resilient care and support systems, ensuring that social and economic transitions are inclusive and that no one is left behind. Madam Chair, our experience demonstrates that advancing social development and social justice require coherent policies, inclusive partnership, and sustained commitment at all levels. The Copenhagen Declaration, the Doha Political Declaration provide mutually reinforcing frameworks that guide our national efforts towards smooth, inclusive, and sustainable graduation from LDC status. In conclusion, the Lao PDR reaffirmed its strong commitments to translating these global commitments into national actions and to accelerating progress towards the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Lao People's Democratic Republic, and I now give the floor to the representative of Iraq.
شكرا السيدة الرئيسة.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The world is facing demographic changes and technological changes and a rapidly changing environment. And at this time, the Second World Summit for Social Development held in Doha came as a summit for a dialogue to bring together governments, the UN system, and international organizations and non-governmental organizations and civil society, the private sector and academic sector, to discuss issues of social development at the highest level and to push social development forward to ensure that no one is left behind in sustainable development around the world. Madam Chair, my government attaches great importance to human rights issues, particularly social development and social justice. The government's program has policies to support the main issues in social development, to preserve the structure of the family and take care of the youth, the elderly, and to have special programs for disabled persons, in addition to supporting technological skills to ensure a dignified life for people, to keep them from poverty, need, and the symptoms of sickness and elderly. Social development and social justice are to be implemented and to contribute towards achieving SDGs for 2030. We have many developments, such as Law number 11 for social development of 2014, which improves social protection systems and doubles the allowances for target groups and reduces unemployment for the youth by activating the role of investment bodies and advancing national industry. The youth were also included in the National Social Development Strategy to improve their situation by developing their capacities and supporting them in policies and strategies and development plans, including the National Development Plan 2024 to 2028 and the National Document for Policy for Residency Policies and the Strategy for Alleviating Poverty. The law on emergent support for food security and for alleviating poverty and improving the living standards was also issued through an approach to provide complete food security and approving a strategy for the agriculture sector 2024 to 2030. We were one of the first countries that joined the ICECR in 1971. This demonstrates our belief in what this convention includes in terms of principles and our provision of all that is needed for these principles to be implemented in sustainable development to improve the situation of Iraqi citizens and reaching the implementation of SDGs. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Iraq, and I now give the floor to the Deputy Permanent Representative of Cambodia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Cambodia aligns itself with the statements delivered on behalf of the group of G77 and China. The Copenhagen Declaration and the Program of Action of the World Summit for Social Development established the foundation for people-centered development through poverty eradication, employment, and social integration. The 2030 Agenda provides an integrated framework that reaffirms inclusive development and the principle of leaving no one behind as essential to sustainable peace and development. Social development and social justice are inseparable. They require solidarity, fairness, and commitment to human dignity. Guided by the Pentagonal Strategy Phase 1 and its succeeding documents, the Royal Government of Cambodia places people at the center of development while considering social development and social justice as the fundamental pillars of sustainable peace, inclusive growth, and long-term national resilience. Madam Chair, Cambodia's life experience demonstrates that coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies are fundamental to resilience and social justice. With this in mind, Cambodia's national social protection system has expanded significantly in recent years under the implementation of the National Social Protection Policy Framework 2016-2025. Today, over 3.5 million Cambodians are covered by the Health Equity Fund, ensuring free access to essential health services for the poor. The rollout of the National Security Fund now covers more than 1.7 million workers, including those in the government, construction, and service sectors. Madam Chair, Cambodia emphasizes the importance of predictable international support, strengthened partnerships, and continued access to financing, technology, and capacity building. In this regard, my delegation wishes to highlight three priorities as follows. First, the international community must scale up investment in universal social protection system, including shock responsive mechanisms that can withstand future crises. Social protection is not a cost but a catalyst for inclusive growth. Second, we must strengthen the global architecture for care. The care economy is a driver of jobs, gender equality, and social cohesion. Cambodia is developing its first national care policy, and we encourage greater international cooperation to support countries in building resilient, gender-responsive care systems. Third, we must ensure that digital transformation becomes a force for inclusion. Cambodia's IDP pool system, recognized as a global good practice, uses these digital tools to identify and support vulnerable households with accuracy and transparency. Madam Chair, Cambodia is committed to working with all partners to advance the 2030 agenda and to building a future in which every person can live with dignity, peace, and security. Cambodia places high hopes in this commission to advance the shared vision of an inclusive and resilient world. And thank you.
I thank the Deputy Permanent Representative of Cambodia, and I now give the floor to the representative of Saint Kitts and Nevis.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Saint Kitts and Nevis is honored to participate in the 64th session of the Commission for Social Development. We align ourselves with the statement delivered on behalf of the Group of 77 and China. Madam Chair, we meet at a time when global social development priorities continue to face mounting challenges. Rising inequalities, climate-related shocks, and the lingering impacts of recent crises disproportionately affect vulnerable populations. For small island developing states like St. Kitts and Nevis, these pressures are further intensified by limited fiscal space and structural constraints that hinder our capacity to advance inclusive and sustainable development. Our government remains committed to fostering policies and programs that promote equity, inclusion, and access to essential services for all. We continue to strengthen social protection systems, expand skills training and digital literacy, and invest in education, health, and community resilience, recognizing these as central pillars of human development and long-term national progress. Madam Chair, climate change remains the single greatest threat to our sustainable development. Extreme weather events disrupt livelihoods, deepen vulnerabilities, and divert scarce resources away from critical social programs. We therefore reiterate the urgent need for predictable and accessible climate finance, as well as stronger support for adaptation measures that protect our people, communities, and social infrastructure. We also stress the importance of development financing architecture that reflects the unique realities of small states, including through multidimensional vulnerabilities indices and reforms to consensual financing. Madam Chair, St. Kitts and Nevis reaffirms its readiness to work constructively with all delegations to advance social development and social justice, and to ensure that every person, regardless of geography, can live with dignity, security, and opportunities. I thank you.
I thank the representative of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I now give the floor to the representative of Timor-Leste.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Timor-Leste aligns itself with the statement delivered on behalf of G77 and China, and would like to highlight some points in our national capacity. The theme of this session, advancing social development and social justice through coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies, reflects our national experience in social development. With a predominantly young population and an economy undergoing structural transition, our development pathway is guided by 2030 Agenda and national priorities that place social inclusion, resilience, and equality at the center of sustainable development. While progress has been achieved in reducing poverty, multidimensional poverty continues to affect many communities, with higher prevalence in rural and remote areas. These challenges are interlinked with food insecurity, climate vulnerability, and uneven access to essential services. In this context, Timor-Leste recognizes that social protection system must be inclusive, adequately resourced, well-targeted, and shock responsive to reduce vulnerability and prevent reversal in development gains. Guided by the National Social Protection Strategy, we are constructing a system that acts as both safety net for the vulnerable and a springboard for our youth. Our strategy is built on two main pillars. First, for our formal workforce, the contributory social security scheme ensures that those who build our economy today are protected in their old age and in times of disability. But we know that the heart of our nation lives beyond our formal workforce. It is in its families, its youth, its rural communities, and its vulnerable groups. That's why our second pillar, non-contributory social assistance, is so vital. From the pension provided to our veterans and the elderly, to the school feeding program, and from the mother's allowance to the scholarship in Human Capital Development Fund, we are not just giving aid, we are investing in human dignity and well-being. In addition, we have recently reformed our mother's allowance program by consolidating the previous pilot phase into a single national network. We ensure long-term sustainability. The program now provides tiered monthly subsidies to encourage school attendance, with an additional top-up for children with disabilities. However, we must be honest about hurdles ahead. We live in an era of climate volatility and uncertain global landscape. Therefore, social protection must be shock responsive. We are working to ensure that when climate disaster hits or food prices spike, our system reacts instantly to protect our people, particularly the most vulnerable. In this context, the government-managed food stock holding mechanism serves as critical lifeline. By procuring, storing, and distributing staple foods, the mechanism helps stabilize prices, ensure food availability, and enable rapid emergency response. Furthermore, by working closely with development partners, we are moving toward a data-driven integrated system. This digitalization is key to modernize public services, strengthening digital governance, and improving citizen access to essential government services through innovation and technology. Lastly, to achieve an integrated approach and overcome silos, effective multi-sectoral action requires a mandate from the highest level of government. In this regard, Timor-Leste has established a unified coordinated framework under the Vice Prime Minister for Social Affairs to have a cohesive ecosystem, a whole government approach that ensured synchronized service delivery, ensuring social protection and development. Madam Chair, as we build on the outcomes of the Copenhagen and Doha summits, Timor-Leste remains committed to moving from promise to progress, placing people at the center of development and ensuring that no one is left behind. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Timor-Leste, and I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Lesotho.
Madam Chair, the Kingdom of Lesotho is pleased to participate in this 64th session of the Commission for Social Development, convened under the timely and compelling theme, Advancing Social Development and Social Justice through Coordinated, Equitable and Inclusive Policies, grounded in the milestones achieved through the Copenhagen Declaration and Program of Action for World Summit for Social Development, as well as the Doha Political Declaration on the renewed commitments to social progress and development. As we approach 2030, the world continues to grapple with persistent poverty, widening inequalities, and the erosion of social cohesion. For Lesotho, these challenges are deeply felt, yet they also strengthen our determination to accelerate the commitments made in Copenhagen and Doha, and to build a society anchored in dignity, justice, and opportunity for all. At the heart of the social development lies the inalienable right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. These freedoms are not optional. They are foundational to equality, development, and peace. When fully respected, they nurture the moral, ethical, and spiritual well-being of women and men alike, enabling them to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to society. Lesotho reaffirms its unwavering commitment to safeguarding these rights for all people without discrimination. Madam Chair, our national priorities reflect this conviction. We are strengthening social protection systems to ensure that no one is left behind. We are expanding opportunities for young people through skills development, innovation, and entrepreneurship. We are advancing gender equality by addressing harmful norms, promoting women's leadership, and combating all forms of violence. And we are deepening community-based approaches that honor cultural diversity while upholding universal human rights. These efforts are aligned with the African Union's call for inclusive growth, good governance, and people-driven development, and with the Pact for the Future's emphasis on renewed multilateralism, social cohesion, and intergenerational solidarity. Lesotho believes that coordinated and equitable policies rooted in human dignity and implemented through strong partnerships are essential to building resilient societies capable of withstanding global shocks. Madam Chair, Lesotho calls upon the international community to strengthen cooperation, enhance financing for social development, and support capacity building for least developed countries. We must ensure that global commitments translate into tangible improvements in the lives of ordinary people. The promise of 2030 can only be realized if we act with agency, unity, and unwavering commitment to social justice. In this spirit, Lesotho stands ready to work with all member states to advance a future where every person enjoys freedom, equality, and opportunity, where social protection is universal, and where development is inclusive, sustainable, and just. I thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Lesotho, and I now give the floor to the representative of Mali.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chair, I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate your bureau, and I applaud your leadership. My delegation associates itself with the statements delivered by G77 plus China and the African Group. Madam Chair, we welcome the theme that has been embraced for this session. Not only is this a critical component for social and economic development, but it also is important in light of the context of international crises. We are determined to fully implement critical pillars of the Copenhagen Declaration Program of Action, particularly in the context of multidimensional crises. Our government has established to that end coordinated, balanced, and inclusive social policies. At the institutional level, we have adopted a Mali 2063 vision with a framework document for all socioeconomic development policies for our country, for our people to benefit from the reforms that have been initiated, specifically in terms of security, good governance, justice, economic and social development. In that vein, we have been emphasizing education in particular, as well as vocational training and healthcare. We have adopted to that end a program for the 2019 to 2028 period, inter alia, to promote equitable and key access to high-quality education. At the healthcare level, we provide sustained support for our people, particularly for pregnant women, children, older persons, and persons living with HIV. We're also working to shore up the coverage, the universal health care coverage system, in order to provide for decent living standards for our people. Our government has established a housing program with a quota for those who are most vulnerable, including persons with disabilities. Measures have been adopted to support the agricultural sector, as well as to improve the business climate and financial circumstances, as well as to improve energy and justice systems. Empowerment of women also lies at the heart of the priorities of our government. In order to enhance social cohesion, which is a guarantee for stability, we have embraced conclusions and recommendations, and measures have been adopted and under the Charter for Peace and National Reconciliation, which was adopted in 2025. This is as a guide. And the aim is to counter discrimination, to promote social inclusion, solidarity, and intercommunal cohesion. In order to bolster this commitment, we have established a framework for social inclusion and solidarity. My country is also continuing to implement commitments enshrined in the UN 2030 Agenda and the African Union 2063 Agenda. Madam Chair, despite the efforts that have been undertaken by our government, it is evident that the security crisis plaguing my country, Mali, and the significant reduction in financial resources of our organization, these have a significant impact on social development initiatives which are underway. Therefore, I call for enhancement of the multilateral system through more frank dialogue with mutual respect for more tangible, orderly measures. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the representative of Mali, and I now give the floor to the permanent observer of the Holy See.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation welcomes the theme of advancing social development and social justice through coordinated, equitable, and inclusive policies. This is particularly relevant given the Second World Summit for Social Development, which took place in Doha last November. In order to achieve social justice and social development, it is vital to place the good of the human person and respect for his or her dignity at the center of efforts. Human flourishing requires meeting basic needs such as food, water, shelter, together with quality health care and education, and also freedom. This calls for effective coordination within and between governments, as well as with stakeholders, including faith-based organizations. Such coordination must respect the principle of subsidiarity, promoting collaboration with affected communities to ensure that policies reflect the needs and priorities of those they aim to serve. As the natural and fundamental group unit of society, the family is primarily responsible for the well-being of its members, particularly children. It also fosters values that encourage inclusion, solidarity, and social integration. Governments should respect and support the family and provide appropriate assistance when necessary. Social development, together with social justice, must aim towards achieving the common good. This belongs to both individuals and the state. The state must guarantee the cohesion, unity, and organization of society to enable the common good to be achieved with the contribution of every citizen. Individuals, the family, and intermediate groups cannot achieve their full development alone. Political institutions exist to provide people with the material resources and freedoms required to achieve cultural, moral, and spiritual goals. Madam Chair, Pope Leo insists that it is imperative to commit to resolving the structural causes of poverty. This is a pressing need that cannot be delayed, not only for the pragmatic reasons of its urgency, for the good order of society, but because society needs to be cured of this sickness which is weakening and frustrating it, and which can only lead to new crises. The deprivations of poverty, unemployment, and social exclusion are not only material, but also spiritual and moral in nature, leading to discouragement, despair, and loneliness. This spiritual dimension was recognized in Copenhagen and reaffirmed in Doha. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the permanent observer of the Holy See. We have just heard the last speaker in the general discussion for this afternoon. The Commission has thus concluded its program of work for this meeting, and the general discussion will resume on Friday, 6 February at 3 p.m. Before adjourning this meeting, I would also like to remind delegations that tomorrow at 10 a.m., the Commission will continue its consideration of Agenda Item 3A to hold an interactive dialogue on the priority theme. I would also like to thank the interpreters for excellent work in the course of 3 days of the session, and the meeting is adjourned.